we're going to go over 7 freight broker startup tips to help you succeed in 2021, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Number 1, the number 1 tip, and these are in no discernible order, but number 1 on the list is keep your expenses low and manage your cash flow, all right? This is really important. As a startup, you cannot go out and spend a bunch of money unnecessarily. There are things you're going to have to invest in to become a freight broker or a freight agent. Some of them are licensing and bonding and things with the FMCSA and to get your authority. Some of them are technology. Some of them are just the basics of a startup. But what I don't want you doing is going out and spending a lot of money frivolously, okay? So keep your expenses low. Shop around for the best price you can get on a freight broker bond. Shop around for the software that you need now as a startup, not necessarily the most expensive software that you need later, okay? So keep your expenses low and manage your cash flow. When you start moving loads, make sure that you're paying your carriers on time, okay? There's a margin in there. If you charge a shipper $1,000 and you pay a carrier $850, you made $150. You didn't make $1,000. You've got to pay that carrier. So number 1 on the list is keep your expenses low and manage your cash flow. Very, very important, okay? Number 2 on the list, and you guys that have heard of me before, have been following me for a while, have heard me harp about this for years and years and years and years, and that is find your niche. Riches are in niches. I don't care if you're in the freight industry or any industry. In my opinion, you need to find and specialize in a niche. Jack of all trades, master of none is not the way to be successful as a freight broker. You can't serve everybody in the industry, meaning one day you're moving van loads from Buffalo to Atlanta, and the next day you're moving heavy haul loads from Portland, Oregon down to Houston, right? It doesn't work that way. Now, it doesn't mean that over time you can't learn other skills and develop your niches and have more than one niche. But when you first start, when you're a freight broker startup, you have to find your niche. I did an entire training on this. You can search it on YouTube. Freight broker niches, freight broker bootcamp, whatever, how to find your niche in a freight broker. You'll find it. You can also go to my blog and check that out as well, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/blog, okay? All right, so that's number 2, find your niche. These are really important, okay? Number 3, leverage the connections that you already have. Now, what do I mean by that? You know, most of you are probably in your 20s or 30s or 40s or maybe even your 50s that are on this live or considering starting your freight brokerage. So during that time, you've met hundreds, if not thousands of people. Some of you are truck drivers. Perfect example. I get this question all the time. I've been a truck driver for 3 years or 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. Can I use the contacts that I've met throughout my career to launch my freight brokerage? And the answer is yes. You absolutely should use the contacts that you've established throughout your life. Now, the trucking analogy is a simple one, right? Because they're talking to people on a shipping dock, shipping managers, people that are loading trucks. So those are people that are front and center that you would definitely want to be talking to. But let's say, for example, you weren't in the trucking or logistics industry and you're starting this business, or you're interested in starting this business like I was. You know, you can reach out to people that you know who may know somebody. I'll give you a perfect example. When I first started my freight brokerage back in 2003, I had a good friend who had a lot of connections. He was really well known. And I started talking to him, sharing what I was doing, and I asked him if he knew anybody who I might be able to talk to who might be interested or need or use transportation logistics services. He connected me with the vice president of a recycling company. They did recycled rubber. And in that first year of working with them, we did over 6 figures with that client. And it came through a referral of somebody that I knew. Now, that person that I knew, his name was John. I'd known him for a long time. He did nothing that I could ship for him. He was not a manufacturer, distributor, importer, exporter. He was just a guy who had a lot of great connections. So he connected me to the vice president of a recycling company, which led to me doing over 6 figures in business the first year. And over the lifetime of that client, we did over $1 million in sales with them, okay? So that's an example of use the connections that you have, okay? Leverage the connections that you have. Let people know what you're doing, ask for referrals, and try to see if you can get in the door with somebody through those current channels that you already have, okay? So that's number 3. Number 4, study your competition. Study your competition. Look at people in the industry that are doing well. Look at companies that are growing rapidly. Now, you can't emulate everything they're doing because they have more capital than you and they have more resources than you. But you can model what they do. Look at companies like C.H. Robinson and Total Quality Logistics and, and all of the, Coyote Logistics and all of the large brokerages that have grown rapidly over the years. I mean, when you look at their growth trajectory, it's huge. Study what they're doing today and study what they did in the past. The internet is a great tool. Google knows everything. Go on there and study. Find out what they're doing now, how they're differentiating themselves, the types of services they're offering, the clients they're doing business with. Really do your due diligence. Always be a student of your competition. Learn from your competition. There's a ton you can learn from your competition, I promise you, okay? So study your competition is number 4. Number 5 is build your online presence. Now, what do I mean by that? That means twofold. I want you to build your website, blog, which is your website/blog. You should have a blog as attachment to your website. And a blog is simply someplace where you publish ongoing content beyond just your standard website service contact information content. You're going to want to start creating content online, and the blog is the best place to start, okay? So you want to start creating your online presence. So set up a website. And then the second part of that is leverage your social presence. Develop a presence on social media. My first choice for developing a presence on social media as a freight broker is LinkedIn. Set up a LinkedIn profile, optimize your profile, start developing connections within the industry with past people that you know in your network. Start connecting and networking with people that could either be your prospect or client or may know your prospect or client, okay? So develop your online presence. You need to start that early, okay? So that's number 5. Number 6, this is a very, very important one. So lean in on this one. I want you to really pay attention to this one. I want you to focus on HVA versus LVA. Now, what do I mean by that? HVA is high value activities. So now you can guess what LVA is. Low value activities. Surfing the internet aimlessly, or sitting on social media, or doing things that are not directly related to one of these 7 tips, and or directly getting clients and having conversations with your target market is probably an LVA, right? We want to focus on HVA, high value activities, all right? So if you find yourself twiddling your thumbs, surfing the internet, doing things that are not highly productive or high value, you have to stay away from that as a startup. Every minute of the day has a dollar value associated with it. You have to think that way, okay? You have to think about it. Every minute of the day has value associated with it. And if you waste that time, you are hurting your opportunity or your chances for success, okay? So focus on HVA, not LVA, okay? That's number 6. Number 7, be optimistic, but be prepared for the worst, okay? Be optimistic. I want you to be positive. I want you to be optimistic. I want you to set goals, but you also have to prepare for the worst. Are you in a position where you can prepare for the worst? Your projections are you're going to do X amount in sales month 1 and maybe Y amount in sales in month 3 and Z amount of sales in month 6. Let's say you only did half of that for each one of those goals. You only hit 50% of your goals during those first 6 months. Are you able to survive? Are you able to thrive? Are you going to be able to continue with your dream and your goal and your business, okay? So be optimistic, but prepare for the worst, okay? All right, so those are the seven tips, but I'm going to give you a couple of bonus tips, all right? So I'm going to give you a couple of bonus tips, but before I hit the bonus tips, here's what I want to let you know. If you guys are curious about becoming a freight broker or a freight agent, and you've been sitting on the fence, you've been waiting for the perfect timing, here's what I can tell you. There is no perfect time. I own I own a training company called FreightBrokerBootcamp.com. We've been in business for over a decade. We've trained over 8,000 students, okay? Many of them have went on to build 6 and 7 and even 8-figure businesses. They've been very, very blessed, and I've been blessed to be their mentor. So here's the thing. If you're curious about becoming a freight broker, check it out. We offer over a 60-day, 100% money-back guarantee. Again, we've trained over 8,000 students, and you can't go wrong. It's the most cost-effective, comprehensive online freight broker training program available today, okay? So that's my infomercial. That's my quick infomercial. Hope you guys feel free to check that out. All right, great. So let's jump into the bonus tips. The first bonus tip, I should say, is focus on relationships. Brokers and startups have a tendency to focus on transactions, meaning they're looking for the deal, they're looking for the load, they're looking for, the money. And that's important, don't get me wrong. Your business requires oxygen, and money is that oxygen, okay? So I understand that. But you need to focus on relationships first. And when I say relationships, I mean relationships with potential prospects, relationships with potential carriers, relationships with potential employees, relationships with potential vendors, whether that be software or technology or whatever. Develop and focus on relationships. I can tell you this, relationships will get you 100 times further than any individual transaction, okay? So don't be a typical broker which focuses on transaction. Be a broker that focuses on relationships and values those relationships. Invest in relationships. That's bonus tip number 1. And bonus tip number 2, I probably don't need to tell you, but I'm going to remind you, find a mentor. Find a mentor. Now, find somebody that you can follow. Find somebody that you resonate with. Find somebody that you can ask questions to. Find somebody that you can emulate. Find somebody who's already done what you're looking to do and follow them and emulate them. Now, here's the thing. Not all of my mentors did I know, or could I call up on the phone, or I could send an email. A lot of my mentors were people that wrote books. They wrote successful books. They published blog posts. They wrote articles. They did things on YouTube, right? They went to different events. So I didn't know all of my mentors before I started using them and following them as mentors. So we're here on Alive. If you want me to be part of your mentoring team, then you just need to plug into these weekly lives. And if you're curious and really want to accelerate your process, join FreightBrokerBootcamp.com. And then at that point, you can get access to all the training and all the support, as well as any of the extras like these lives, okay? So I hope you guys enjoyed these 7 tips plus the bonus tips.